We'll get started here with a roll call, please.
All righty. Delaware County, Mr. Early is excused. Lou Jones. Pat Delamere.
Here.
Maggie Wilson.
Here.
Fulton County, Yvonne Hart.
Here.
Jack Farquhar. Here. Bill Dunham. Okay. Frank Sheeran is also excused. I know he's working. He was working for us this morning. Hamilton County, Joyce Malidi is excused. Sends her regrets dealing with the conclusion of a stomach virus. Sorry she could not make it. Phil Malidi present. Gary Wicks.
Here.
Montgomery County, Tom Pasquarelli.
Here.
Nikki Swartz. Here. Trish Green is excused. Tony Agresta. Without a doubt, had to work.
He might be working today.
Yeah. Otsego County, Sid Chase is excused. Brian Knapp. Absent David, Dr. Markowitz is excused. Dana Wygan working. Rich Kirschman.
Here.
Harry County, Ed Brandt.
Here.
Bill Beavers.
Here.
Ed Hillenbrand is excused. Dr. Frank Valois is excused. And Ben Lauch.
Yes.
Mark Zeke.
I am here.
And Dr. Leinhardt is excused. And sir, we have a quorum.
Okay, very good. Well, welcome one and all. Trust everyone had a good Thanksgiving. I guess.
Our guests, we have, I'll start off with them this time. Joe Farrell and Mary Ramo. They're guests and family at the same time. Howard Hughes, present. John McMillan.
Hello.
And Joe Cazzola, Rich Knapp from Hancock, town of Hancock. Tim Forster from the, I almost said Otsego, Oneonta Fire Department, not Otsego County Fire Department, Oneonta Fire Department, right. Welcome, Tim. Roy Sweet is here. Well, he was anyway. Is he still?
We'll be back.
He'll be back.
There he is.
Okay. There he comes. Just announcing you as a guest, Roy.
Thank you, Phil.
You're certainly welcome. Donna Jones is here someplace. I don't know her exact title. It's something about keeping an eye on the chairman. I don't know the whole story. Anyway, did I leave anybody out? Welcome one and all.
Okay. Alrighty, we need approval of our minutes from last month's meeting. We need a motion. Second. Motion, do we have a second?
Who was seconded, Bill?
Bill. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed or abstained? Okay. Correspondence, there seems to be quite a bit of it here today.
Virtually all of it now is electronic. Once in a while we get something by Postal Service or FedEx if it's an official announcement of some kind for CON and what have you, but mostly electronic.
Okay. I don't have a report. We'll go right on to the Secretary's report.
Okay. On November 30th, we received written nominations to the Regional Council from the Otsego County EMS Advisory Council as follows. Dana Wygan for a one-year term from January the 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2016. Elizabeth McGowan for a four-year term starting January the 1st, 2016, ending December 31st, 2019. And Rich Kirschman selected as alternate to serve from January the 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2019. I would like to make a motion that we accept these nominations and appoint these nominees as requested by the Otsego County EMS Advisory Council. So I wish to make that motion.
Motion. Do we have a second? Second.
Okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained?
On December 7th, we received written nominations to the Regional Council from the Fulton County EMS Advisory Council as follows. Mr. Farquhar, Mr. Sheen, and Ms. Hart for an extension of their terms, and Lucas Paskowitz to fill the unexpired term of Bill Dunham. And Mark Souza was presented as alternate to represent Fulton County. And I would like to make a motion that we accept the nominations from the Fulton County EMS Advisory Council and that these individuals be so appointed.
Been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained?
On December 16th, we were requested by Springfield to approve their entry into the EPCR system using ImageTrend as their software provider. And their paperwork was in order, and following our action, we notify Mike Taylor at DOH, and then the state sends a letter to the agency requesting the approval. So I'd like to make a motion that Springfield Fire Department ALS response unit be approved for entry into the EPCR system using the Image Trend software.
Second. Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, the second, Rich. Okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed or abstained?
On December 16th, a lot of approvals today, aren't there? On December 16th, we received written word from Ambulance Service of Fulton County that they'd be allowed to change their software provider from Zoll for EPCRs, from Zoll to Data in Motion. This is a new software provider, and originally, back at the beginning of the year, back in June, I guess it was, they had requested and received approval from us and from the state to proceed with EPCRs using Zoll as their software provider. They have not yet actually begun the EPCR system. They're getting ready for it, and now they have asked to switch to a different provider. So I would like to make a motion that we accept, we approve their switching to the Data in Motion provider, with the one codicil that this, I have not been able to talk to Mike Taylor at DOH about the Data in Motion software provider. So so long as they are officially approved software provider, we approve their use of it for their new PCR system. I'd like to make that as a motion.
You have a second? Second. Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed or abstained?
Perhaps Roy can give us a little update on the EPCR status at Fulton County.
It will be in place by February 1. They're doing the bridge right now for the safe with the program. It's got its Memphis Gold, and that's where we're standing right now.
Thank you, Roy. On December 1st, we were advised by the Mountain Lakes Regional Office that they were sponsoring a certified lab instructor course on January 29, 30, and 31 of 2016 at their headquarters in Queensbury. Their flyer containing all pertinent information was posted on our regional website. And we do not have any notices of enforcement action this month.
Very good.
Yes, and that, sir, is my report.
Thank you very much. Going to the treasurer's report.
Okay. A printed report of the cash flow and balance sheet is available for all members, and Lou, Tom, and Jack Farquhar received detailed cash flow, balance sheets, and register reports, plus copies of the canceled checks, as per the review arrangements agreed on to meet the audit standards. And their report?
Everything appears accurate and in order.
On November 21st, a check was received from DOH in the amount of $34,334.23. This was payment in full for the September 30th council voucher of $35,50.65 and the September 30th program agency voucher of $30,783.58. The vouchers had been submitted to DOH on September 30th. Payment for both have been slightly delayed due to the updating of the statewide financial system software. It is now fully updated. Whenever I hear that state software is being updated, I always have a small spasm, because it usually means that, updates run into glitches, and this did indeed. But everything is working very smoothly now. We have been receiving payments about 3 weeks after submission of the vouchers, which are no longer called vouchers, they're called claims for payment, but rose by any other name. That's my report, sir.
Okay. We need a report, accept the treasurer's report as presented. Need a motion? Motion, do we have a second?
Sure.
Motion made and seconded, to accept the treasurer's report. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed or abstained?
I will abstain as a staff member.
Okay. Committee reports, anything on program agency?
Nothing on the program agency.
How about, Tom, do you want to give a report on training?
I will give a little report on training. Joyce, once again, Joyce regrets that she wasn't able to be here, but a certain unnamed virus is responsible. We spoke with her on speakerphone during the training committee, and I'm going to ask Howard to chime in here also, but she was asking for suggestions about the CLI CIC training and also our certified instructor update in June, so I'll ask Howard to hop in too because he was an active part of our speakerphone survey.
So Joyce and I kicked around a couple ideas, and certainly if anybody else has anything, I'm sure Joyce would welcome it. She's looking to do a CIU. It sounds like we're going to do it at the college, first Saturday in June.
June the 4th, I believe that is.
There you go. She was looking for topics. I had suggested two right off the bat. One is ethics in the profession, and ethics specifically within EMS education, because it's become a large push with the new regional faculty rollout that's come along also, and the new NEMC courses that are being pushed out for EMS educators. You're also probably going to find out shortly when the state CLI and CIC materials get updated, there'll be a large push for ethics within there also. The other thing that I suggested, and Joyce and I talked about, it sounds like we're going to do it, is probably a 2 to 3 hour look as an instructor update for a walkthrough from a student's perspective of how the course runs. So from the moment that you sit to fill out the application, what happens to your application? Honestly, I was kind of channeling the Schoolhouse Rocks, How a Bill Becomes Law, because that's really the approach that we're kind of looking at this, because there's a lot of CICs and CLIs out there, and I think providers as a whole that have no clue how to manage certain avenues of the course. And while a CLI may not need that, I think it's great perspective for them to have and understand. And some of the agency heads also to understand simple things like you have somebody who can't sign an application. What do you do with it? Do you do anything with it? Where do you refer them? And just procedural stuff that comes from there. In addition, courses that we've got in the area, Mickey, you guys have two EMT classes, right?
Right.
One at
Northampton and one in Gabat.
Right, and those are both running Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, correct?
Correct.
We're going to have the same thing. So FM got approved. We've actually moved into offices. We're in the process of moving into offices. We're going to run an EMT original and EMT refresher at FM on Monday, Wednesday nights, and Cobleskill will have an EMT and EMT refresher on Tuesday, Thursday nights. We hired Nancy Montesano as a part-time CIC. We're going to have her on the Cobleskill campus where our new employee gets a little bit more support. And we're going to actually move one of our full-timers to FM for the first class out there. Still hopeful for paramedic and AEMT out there in the relatively near future, but when I say relatively near future, it means, I got to work through Department of Health, Department of Ed, and that's all going to take some paperwork and some time. If the EMT classes are well supported at FM, we really do want to see an extension of ALS education out there. If the EMT classes are not supported out there by Fulton and Montgomery counties, our college is probably going to turn around and tell me to pull the program back because it's just not going to be financially stable. Winter Symposium is January 9th. We're limited to only 100 seats, and we're already at something like 75 attendees after just a couple weeks of registration, so if you're interested,
I believe there's a link to your flyer right on our website, on the education page.
And you can find it right off the SUNY Cobleskill page too if you just look for Winter Symposium. And that's just, still we haven't raised the price, it's still $60. You get a hot breakfast, hot lunch, and 8 hours now we increased it of CME credit. So, and that's Saturday, January 9th.
You have Joanne coming, right? Is that who your speaker is?
Who?
Joanne Friel, is that who's coming?
No, not Joanne Friel. We got Connie Matera. Joanne's good too, but yeah, we got Connie Matera, and I don't know if anybody here has seen Connie at either a national or a state conference, but she's phenomenal.
She's at state conference, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
She's doing a pit crew approach to cardiac arrest management with the new AHA updates. For the keynote speech, she's doing pediatric trauma later on in the day. We've got Paul Werfel coming back up from SUNY Stony Brook's program. He's doing a couple different ones. We've got one of our We Always Save One Spot for our own staff. We've got Bruce Ushkow coming back up to do an asthmatic lecture. And I'm missing something, I can't remember what. But the flyer's out there, so yeah, it's honestly, I'm kind of excited I registered this year, I want to go, so. But yeah, it looks good. The other thing that Joyce and I talked about was a CLI course. So Travis Howe is doing one up in Mountain Lakes with, I think, Deb Cuffs, Rich Beebe, Doug Wildermuth, and Mark Spezio, or some combination thereof. And that's the end of January. I know we've had some people that are actually going to go up to that course. And in talking to Joyce, we're going to look to plan one at the college sometime in either April or May towards a weekend, and use the new beta-tested curriculum out there to see how it goes. I think that's it, sir.
Good, wonderful. I could, let me just mention also, the speakerphone thing worked out really good. I was telling Joyce that I'm going to try to work on, in the interest of advancing technology here, I'm going to work on something involving Skype for times when she can't be here, for example, if it's extremely icy underfoot and what have you. We are working with Ambulance Service of Fulton County and one of their instructors. I'm trying to work out the conducting of a American Heart Association BLS instructor trainer course. In other words, a course for folks who want to be BLS HCP instructors. We're trying to work that out. It's working out slowly, but it is working.
What type of course are you doing? Because most of those are not classroom courses anymore.
Well, no, they're online, but there is a certain component.
There's a classroom didactic piece of the
Right.
component.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain component where they have to be, they have to be actually, on site with somebody. So we're trying to work this out with Mountain Lakes and with Ambulance Service of Fulton County. I'll keep everybody advised. We do have a need for more CPR instructors.
It's the AHA?
Hmm?
AHA?
AHA, yeah. AHA healthcare provider, which includes the lowest grades, if you want to call them that. That's kind of a misnomer, the heart saver and such like.
And the new instructor material just came out yesterday for the instructor update. Yeah.
Okay. I haven't looked too close. I must admit I haven't looked too closely at it yet myself, but I can't wait to be informed.
Kathy Warrow from Bassett Healthcare out in Cooperstown is an excellent resource if you're ever looking for questions or whatnot out there. She's the one who runs Bassett's training center.
Okay. Good. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Transportation standards, anything there?
Yeah, on December 14th, we received from Dan Clayton of DOH copies of correspondence regarding the possible organization of a municipal EMS agency in Cobleskill. This was sent to us for informational purposes. I sent it out to all the members. I have heard nothing further about it. Apparently, back some months ago, the village of Cobleskill contacted Dan and other folks at DOH and said they were interested in doing a municipal CON.
It's the town of Cobleskill.
I'm sorry?
It's the town of Cobleskill.
Oh, town of Cobleskill, sorry. I was a little bit confused reading the paperwork, whether it was the town or the village. And
They're more confused than you are.
Joe and Dan both sent them information, full information, and never heard another word. And some months have gone by, so I think Dan Clayton is just trying to clear up loose ends before the end of the year, really. So that's what I sent around to everybody for their informational purposes. And I'll let you know if I hear anything more. Bill, do you have any further on it at all?
There was actually a second letter sent out this week.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, basically saying the town either has to make a decision whether they're going to continue with the Muni CON or not. If they continue on, then they have to provide us with the appropriate paperwork.
Right.
If they want to rescind that, and you have to understand, a Muni CON can only be used once. If they go forward with it and nothing happens at the end of 2 years, they'll never be able to do it again.
Right.
Well, and there seems to be no desire for them to move forward with it.
Right.
So the letter basically tells them that they need to make a decision, either go forward with it or rescind that resolution and take back the Muni CON.
Their initial paperwork seemed to indicate they were quite interested in pursuing it.
Right, and it has a lot to do with the confusion with the CON for the village.
Oh, okay.
It was let's just say that after a lot of discussion within the Bureau, we decided, originally, when you did the COT here, it was approved. And then somebody in the Bureau decided to look at it again and said, oh, no. So they was going back and forth for months whether or not they were going to approve it. And they decided, you know what, let's just approve what you did, the CON, which gives the village, the town, and the parts of the town of Seward again. So it eliminates the need for the town to have a CON. It's up to them now whether they want to go forward with it or they want to rescind it.
Wasn't there some sort of confusion also about the town of Cobuskill, something about never existing or something like that?
Sorry?
That the town of Cobuskill, that there really wasn't a town of Cobuskill on file or something? when
There's
they were
no
doing
town,
that?
the town exists. The problem was the village has the operating authority. So the town was going to be out in the wind unless we approved that COT that came through here. So after a long, hard discussion, it was decided to approve what you folks did and let it go forward. But now the town
CON
has to make a
village
decision, either
listed.
have to back up and rescind that, or 2 years down the road, it's going to be.
Right.
The CON, their certificate listed a Cobuskill Fire District,
Right.
and no fire district ever existed. There's nothing, it's just the area that the fire department happened to cover. So that was the problem.
Okay. All right, thank you. State Council.
Well, I handed out the report. I will certainly ask Mark if he wants to jump in at any point. He's the expert. This is only my second report. So, as always, it's a fun 2 days sitting through all of those meetings. But in short, we all got the new blood regulations. It really doesn't apply to a lot of us because most of us probably won't be doing it in this region, except for a few of the larger agencies. But to date, only one service has. There seems to be a little bit of a glitch between the ambulance services and the blood banks. Each blood bank has to have a separate MOU, and it outlines different policies. And the problem is getting all of those hospitals on board with the same policy. Otherwise, an ambulance that services 7 hospitals has to have seven MOUs, which all could be different. So, for those of them that are working on it, that's their biggest hang-up.
Yeah, we're working on it. That's the 7 hospitals.
The Vital Sign Conference had just under 14 registrants for 2015. It will be in Syracuse again next year, and the dates are going to be October 13th through the 16th. For those of you in the ER, you should have received a letter from the Department of Health regarding the restrictive spinal immobilization protocol and the changes. That was at the request of some people so that the EMS providers didn't get their heads ripped off by the physicians and the nurses when they came in with a patient that wasn't on a backboard. Nothing other than for the DOH, there's been no changes other than they lost yet another person due to a retirement, which brings their open positions to 5 or 6, I think.
Actually, 2 more announced retirement this week.
Okay, perfect. Wow. So pretty soon it's going to be a one-man show out there. Trauma verification process is going well. One of the things that had come up from the stack was that the trauma services, whether it be at the trauma center, weren't being notified in timely manners. And if you look at this link on the department's website, there's actually a pretty cool presentation. The data is again a little bit outdated, but it is an actual. It really is. It lays it all out from response times to different. It's a pretty intense document incorporating years 2010 through 2013. This region had a couple of areas, I guess, of concern, I would think. And trying to figure out, when they were looking at this data, they tried to figure out what the problem is between the notification of to the trauma services. It doesn't really appear to be at our level, at an EMS provider level, as much as it appears to be more from the hospital level, whether it's the ER is not notifying trauma services at the trauma center, or the community hospital that's transferring, is even more of a delay because they're seeing the patient and then notifying trauma and then transferring them out. But the website's there. It is a pretty cool document. take a look at it. It's right on their website. So that executive order that the governor put out with Ebola, the department is reevaluating it. Most agencies could not or did not comply. They're looking at taking some of those mandates out, except for the training and the PPE stuff, and broadening it so that it's not just about Ebola. It's for, they can use this for something that may be emerging next.
Other contagious diseases.
Right. Active shooter, we're seeing this more and more frequently. It's happened in New York State. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was the fireman shot at. The state is certainly taking a good hard look at all of this stuff. Any information that they get, they are sending it down to the regions and to the county coordinators. It should be passed on to at least the agencies so that they can prepare their people, whether it's through training, advice. Phil does a pretty good job at disseminating a lot of that stuff from Homeland Security. So we've been notified of a couple of laws. I think Phil had emailed them out. One was regarding seatbelts in the ambulance, requiring all EMS workers to wear seatbelts whenever possible. The only problem is that law only applies to municipally owned ambulances. 2/3 of the ambulances out there in the state are not municipality owned, so they're looking at probably sending that back to incorporate all of the services that fall under Part 30, or Article 30. And the same thing with the law against assault of EMS workers. There was some question because the way the law defines our positions and the way Article 30 defines our positions are two different things. So they don't know if they can really apply the law to the way the DOH or to us because of the way that is department's legals looking into that, and hopefully that either verbiage gets corrected or they say it's okay, and it'll certainly make it a little more discouraging to assault an EMS worker. Narcotics, Part 80 regulations, they're out of the comment period. The department has responded to all of those comments, and nobody really knows how long it's going to take to get all of those regulations changed. On a sadder note, the EMS Memorial is having more branches added to it. There's going to be 6 more names this year, 4 of which are related to 9/11.
There's also some planning for a second monument on the plaza where the first one is now, and that was part of the original plan when the peer committee put together the proposal for the memorial. So I guess at the moment they have just carved some extra branches in the existing monument.
Dr. Haydick announced that was his last meeting as the chair of the CMAC. Dr. Doynell, most of us are familiar with him through Cobleskill and Hudson Valley and the Albany area. He is going to be the new chair for CMAC, so we look forward to the things he has to offer. He is certainly no stranger to the EMS world. Bleeding hemorrhage control, they just added the word should be high and tight in box 2. No big changes. Apparently there was some confusion on the way the instructors were teaching it. 12 lead EKGs. Suffolk County presented a pilot program regarding 12 lead EKGs being done by basic EMTs. It actually it's a good program. There was some discussion, and one of the things that the CMAC decided is it wasn't really a change in the scope of practice of a basic EMT to actually perform the 12 lead. The question becomes, can they read it? And obviously that is out of their scope. So they are putting together a protocol because it is not a change in the scope. It really doesn't need to be a pilot program. So they're going to put together a protocol to be approved by the CMAC. That protocol is going to incorporate 3 different devices. It's going to require that the EMT basic does not interpret that, but it has to be transmitted only. They speak to the physician and determine on which, whether a cardiac center is the place to go or whether the local hospital. 3 devices are there. Take some time. You can pull them up online and see what they're all about. EPI demonstration project is soon to be underway. The kits have been shipping. We actually got to see some of the syringes that are being used in the kits. It took them a little longer to print them. Currently there's 80 agencies involved. The kits are being distributed through Boundary Medical with permission of the Monroe-Livingston region.
Tom, if I could interrupt for just a moment, I received word from the University of Rochester that they have acknowledged receipt, and AAREMS is now an approved region for agencies wishing to take part in that demonstration project. Sorry.
And to go back, much like the albuterol and CPAP and things like that, the EKGs for EMTs is not a mandate for all BLS agencies. That's important to stress that these BLS agencies don't have to run out and get cardiac monitors or these EKG machines. It's going to be an application process much similar to CPAP or albuterol, and it'll be done at a regional level. RASC, the pre-hospital hypothermia protocol, is completely out of the New York State protocols. That was voted on. There was some talk about a few months back in my last report, we talked about the child seats and the recommended pediatric equipment. There was a lot of talk in regards to that and securing pediatric patients. And there's actually been some areas in which parents have refused to let them be secured properly as opposed to carrying them. So it was recommended that if in fact that happens, that the parent signs a refusal form for the proper restraint and that it is documented in the PCR. Anybody wants to brush up on that spinal restriction protocol? Dr. Joe Bart has created a YouTube video, and I believe it was in conjunction with DOH or approved by DOH at some point. But that's on YouTube. The video's there. It's a pretty good video. It's pretty simple to watch, much better than the protocol stuff that we had to sit through for an hour and 45 minutes.
I guess there are still some providers who are refusing to abide by the new spinal immobilization protocol. And they really are not practicing the approved standard of care. So people need to keep that in mind.
Commercial naloxone devices. Last report we talked, I put it in there that we weren't allowed to use any sort of commercial naloxone device. After every committee talked about it, we beat this to death. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the Adapt Narcan products are single-use commercial devices. They have been approved. The only catch to that is if you choose to use them, you have to report that to the AIDS or HIV/AIDS Institute through either the REMAC or through the DCJS system. They want to keep track of that because the dosage is a little bit different, and there was some concern in regards to pediatric patients because it's 4 milligrams instead of the 2. So the FDA has approved it. There was nothing that anyone could bring forward that showed harm by administering that, but it still was a lengthy conversation. So if in fact you choose to use that as an agency as opposed to what we're using now, just know, Phil, I think you probably have a reporting mechanism for that.
Yes.
So we can, do it through that, through our own regional council.
Yeah, I believe every agency has received a copy of the reporting form.
Howard touched base on the new, a little bit, started to on the new CLI, CIC stuff. Those exams that the instructors have to take and score an 85, those are going away hopefully in May. You'll take a 50-question exam, only have to score a 70, and it's going to be more in line with what of teaching fundamentals as opposed to the medical side of things. So there was a little bit of a discussion in education, and I know you sit on this. I think you were down there picking questions, right? There's some discussion on some of the older instructors in particular that have not read or taken NAMC courses and have just been doing this for 100 years on whether or not they're going to do well on this exam because of the techniques and the testing. So I guess the big thing comes in is if you're an older instructor, you may need to buy an AAREMS book and read up a little bit in order to do this. These exams hopefully will be online in May, is what Andy had reported. So be looking for that. Mark touched on the spinal restriction protocol. We did extremely well. The department did an extremely good job at turning this out. 54% of the providers took it online, and another 22% have taken it in-house. So like FDNY provided it for their own people. North Shore, Long Island Hospital, they doing it for their own people. And then there was about 14,000 people throughout the state that may need it, may not need it. It's hard to tell because some of those 14,000 may be part of the 13,000 that are taking it, in-house. There's no real way to tell. Phil had sent an email out with a pretty abusive letter or email to Andy Johnson in regards to this. And
No,
it was pretty sad that a provider felt that way and was that close-minded. But apparently the department received hundreds of these emails, which is shocking. And again, like Mark said, this is the new standard of care. So if your agency doesn't want to do it or is refusing to do it, or you as a provider are refusing to do it, just understand when something bad happens, you're going to be standing out there alone because you're not practicing the standard of care.
Tom, in regard to that also, your entire staff has to be updated prior to your agency using it, correct?
Correct.
Andy's exact answer to that question when asked was, those that haven't taken it, consider how is their liability going to be covered?
Right.
So, I mean, he basically said, he can't tell them to suspend them,
Right.
remove them from the schedule until they take it, but that was the recommendation. Because they're a liability at that point.
Right.
Systems, there was no appeals or anything really that the systems committee had to deal with in a long time. But just some interesting things. There's over 500 BLS naloxone agencies. There are currently 125 critical care paramedic agencies working under controlled substance license. And Mark, you guys did that. How many agencies needed it in total? Do you remember? There was only like 150 agencies that didn't have it, right?
160 something, wasn't it, Mary? 160
That didn't have
agencies?
narcotics?
No.
No.
There was 600 agencies that needed it when this first started.
When it first started, right, okay.
Correct.
Well, there's 125 in the works. And then there are zero, to date, there's 0 intermediate agencies and 32 new AEMT agencies. The CON tag did a quick presentation. They're working on some things and some updates to help and guide us as a regional council for all sorts of different CON applications that we may be faced with as a region. And that, I think, everybody is looking forward to. There was some discussion on whether or not they wanted to redefine the public need. And it was determined that really that there is no better definition out there of need, especially now, when they're looking at so many smaller agencies and even the larger agencies that are not providing service or unable to provide that service. It talks about reallocation of services and equipment and resources. That can't really be done, and they didn't feel comfortable taking it out. So that definition is definitely staying in.
Yeah, I was on that tag, and we looked all over the country, and some states actually don't even address the issue of need at all. Some do sort of peripherally. No one had a definition. that was anything like, if they had anything at all, that was anything like what we have in New York. So the New York definition has really stood the test of time, and so we're going to go with that. And the other half of that tag was looking at the whole application process, and they're going to report at the next meeting.
Budget request went in for just over $25 million for the department. The final draft is updated for the reportable incident form. It's completed. I think they're trying to work on getting it on the website. There's going to be both fill in the blank that you can print, and they're also working on an e-file process to submit that as well. The use of lights and sirens, this has always been, out there, but the safety committee is trying to, or going to look at the use of lights and sirens. Apparently they have determined that that is actually increasing. The use of lights and sirens is actually increasing instead of decreasing. So they want to look at that and do some homework and maybe provide some guidance, whether it's EMD or something to help reduce that, to make it safer for all of us. There's just a couple of laws there that the SEMSCO voted to endorse. And then just a couple of other things. There was a presentation done by Niagara University, and we actually had it in this region, I know in our county, for working with people with disabilities. And there was a train-the-trainer program, and the course actually received extremely high feedback. It's all grant funded. If it's something that you're interested in, bringing to probably more of a county level, as opposed to an agency level, or certainly bring a couple agencies in. There's a number there for David Whalen at Niagara University. Again, it's free training, it's grant funded, and it's a great program.
It was very good. They provide you a lot of the tools to actually set up and teach a class, and then if you do, they want the feedback, and they give you a newsletter all the time and update you on any changes.
And then the last thing is, and this was every single meeting that we went to, is the $15 an hour minimum wage. This is huge for the EMS community, and is probably going to be crippling to the EMS community at some point in time if something doesn't change. We're not McDonald's. We can't put kiosks in the back of an ambulance to treat our patients. We can't raise our rates because the payers are still going to pay us what we get paid, and there's nothing that we can do about it. So this is certainly something that the state is taking a hard look at. And we're going to have to work with payers if this continues the way it is. But this is probably one of the most serious issues that EMS is going to be faced with in the next few years.
Yeah, there's a lot of concern that people who would be providers would be going to work for McDonald's instead. And that's one of the concerns.
That's it. That is the state council report.
I would like to ask you one question. They voted to endorse a bill that allows community paramedicine. Has there been anything more on the EMS side of that as far as the state?
This actually went through the Senate, I believe, and it was passed by the Senate originally, and it was shot down in the Assembly.
No, you got it backwards. The first draft of the community paramedicine bill passed the Assembly unanimously.
Right.
And then was killed in the Senate because the home health care folks and the nurses who wield a certain amount of clout in Albany didn't like it at all. Some of us who have been on the committee, I have not been, but other of my colleagues have been on the committee, have had trouble with some of the language, and we think it needs a revision. I think it's going to come up again in this next session.
They feel that ironically, that we need to partner up and we need to look at the long-term health care providers. If we can get them on board, we believe that this will pass, even with the nurses' opposition. The goal is to get the long-term providers and the home health care providers.
This month's Jones Magazine has a brief article on community paramedicine in Alameda County, out in California. And they interviewed the one medic, and he said to him it wasn't so much an expanded scope of practice as an expanded role, because getting on board with long-term providers, getting on board with social services and stuff like that, and basically through the Alameda system was to try to decrease readmissions to the hospital.
Well, there was
That's right, yeah.
There was, somebody brought an example, and I don't know if it was in Rochester area, about the sandwiches they put on the loading dock. The hospital had so many patients coming into their ER for visits, and they thought that
They were just hungry.
They were hungry, so they actually had cafeteria start making sandwiches, and they put them out on the loading dock, and they saved millions of dollars in ER visits just by putting sandwiches on the loading dock.
Right.
But it goes back to what Lou was saying, part of the facilities are now looking at the community wellness as their, to avoid readmissions as well, because of the way the insurances are going and the regulations are going. So getting them on board with the community paramedicine program, as an integral part of that integration would certainly get them on your side as well.
That's exactly it. And from the ambulance perspective, it is trying to fill gaps that are there. The home health aides or the nurses are like 9 to 5, Monday to Friday for the most part, and the county nurses. And then there's the home health care folks. What happens overnight? What happens on weekends? Right. This is where EMS can fill that hole.
Well, the program that they talk about in Alameda, they said that their paramedics, they would be notified when a person was discharged from the hospital, and they would go make an initial visit.
That's right.
It's like I know some of the counties, the community health program, the CHA, like Delaware County sold theirs. Quite a few of the counties have sold their CHAs. So they don't do that. They've decreased way down to Delaware County lost 35 nurses.
Yeah.
They got rid of 35 nurses because they got rid of the CHA. And so, and there's also talk about decreasing use of the ambulances. And it was kind of ironic to talk about how many people use the ambulance, how many times per year. And there was one patient that used the ambulance, let's say 358 times in 1 year. This looks like he's getting home and calling the ambulance back,
Well, that does happen.
Yeah.
It's urban, suburban.
Yeah, a lot. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen.
And just one more thing, the next state council meeting is March 1st and 2nd. That will be held in Troy. After that, while we have meeting months, we don't know where it will be.
Thank you.
Maybe, September or January, I think, right?
Right, we have May.
They're trying to get a little better price from some other place than
Right.
Hilton Garden Inn.
May, September, and then January. So March, May.
May, September, January. That's good.
Okay, thank you. All right, regional program.
The regional program director was held on December 7th at REMO headquarters in Albany. I was not able to go because unfortunately, his mother had to have emergency spinal surgery, decompression surgery on November 29th. And we were dealing with the recovery issues from that very actively and still continue to do so, although she is, thank God, guardedly making an improvement now. She's going to be 90 in June. So she is actually making very good improvement, all things considered. In any event, I was not able to be there, so I just really don't know what went on. Mary, were you there? I presume you were.
No, I do not.
You were not? Oh, okay.
Okay, any other program updates?
No, I do not.
Nothing from REMAC?
REMAC next meets on January 21st, our next meeting.
Okay. County reports, Delaware?
Well, I just finished looking at our training numbers for the year. It looks like we're up a little bit in our community training, the CPRs and stuff like that. We're up about 500 cards this year. But EMS training is down overall, the number of people enrolled in the courses, and more so than the people who actually finish the course from enrolled to done. Seems to be increasing.
You're getting a larger number of completing.
Yeah. And taking the course all the way to the end, but just not very sitting for the test.
Really?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's very
Boy,
short.
that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
I don't know if other people are seeing that too, but that's what we're seeing.
Otsego. Mr. Harry?
County report. Wake up.
Too busy talking over here. We have RSI. We're waiting for the RSI to get certified and coming on board. We have a new medic on board, so we have the fourth one on board at present time, and things are going good. And we're going to this next year we're going to be working with the squads to get better coverage for the entire county than what we've been having for the last couple of years.
Very good.
Montgomery.
Mentioned the ENT courses. You know, it's funny, we've been doing American Heart courses. September was a year, and we did, what, over 300 cards. So I think that, you know, the training has been neglected in our Fulton and Montgomery counties. And, you know, thankfully with Howard coming in and us, I think that we're going to be up to par here. And certainly the Fulton county's now jumped on board with some classes. We've got some really good coverage for education in our county. So
That's good. That's another article in AAREMS was on the availability of citizen CPR, and in that article there they said that the training has gone up and has really benefited the communities.
we do 3 CPR courses a month at our place. So we don't get huge numbers, but you know, we get 5-6 people at a rep 3 times a month. You know, it's pretty decent.
What does that improve rate?
Fulton.
Basically, the EMT class that was announced to start in February in Northampton. Other than that,
Hamilton.
I got a question. We're talking about the training. I talked to Phil about one day, and I didn't get back to him. Regional faculty member to audit a CIC interview. We don't seem to have very many regional faculty members.
I think I'm the only, well, Joyce and I actually.
Bill and Joyce.
Joyce, Rich Beebe, Howard. Or Rich Beebe, Howard Youth.
Gary, just let me know what you need and when.
All right. Be in Indian Lake next Monday at 7 o'clock.
Actually, if you email me, I might actually be able to do that. Have dinner.
We've got a friend that
Gary, tell him what's email.
training now. He just did a EMT course up there. I've audited him twice on 2 of his classes. He does very well. And I was talking to Phil and Joyce, you know, about it, and we just got to get a faculty member to audit him, and so he can get a CIC.
We touched base on that too in my education report. And Howard, you can probably elaborate better than I am, but they did met with regional faculty and did the update at Vital Signs. They're looking at retooling that whole program so that regional faculty is more accessible to where it's needed.
I was there.
And using them more frequently than
More mentoring than
what they have been. So that stuff is in the works even up at the state level.
Gary, check with me tomorrow. Let me see if I can get up to that. I got something going on Monday, but I think it's during the day. I know I have a webinar.
Our class is ending, you know, pretty quick here, and we're getting ready to test out. And I hate to have him not being able to be audited, you know, and we lose him. He's from Long Lake, and we don't have anybody in that section of the country.
Let me, just remind me tomorrow. I got to check my calendar when I go
You
back.
might as well send him to Guam.
Well, not very many of the regional faculty have helicopters. Fly in and
It's a thought.
audit and then fly out, you know, it's a travel
Probably could get a
situation.
good buy on Amazon.com, you know?
As long as you register with the FAA, it would probably work. A drone, we could drone
Drone.
village.
Deliver an instructor by drone.
Yeah, send them up by drone.
There they go.
Another issue, and nobody knows how it's gonna work out, in Hamilton County, the EMS part of our county is being transferred over to the nursing service.
The emergency management, that portion, EMS portion for the
Just
emergency
the
management
EMS,
office.
yeah, fire, and of course, emergency management is their own session over there with the FEMA and SEMA and all like that, but the coordinator and all that kind of stuff, and our equipment that I've got and stuff is going to the nursing service as of the 1st.
And the reason for that was?
Money.
The Article
Nursing
6 funding.
services can get grants, all kinds of grants for training and stuff, so much easier and everything, and those jelly bellies I work with up there don't have grant writers and, you know, and stuff like that. So the fire can get whatever they want. In fact, a lot of my stuff that I've gotten, you know, 50 backboards and stuff like that, I get through either the fire or the sheriff's office. Wherever they have any kind of money left over for training or stuff like that, they call me, can you use something? What do you need? You know, I got a few bucks. So I got some mannequins and I've got things like that, but we have nothing at EMS.
The Article 6 money comes through nursing engineering.
I believe it's, yeah, I think that's what, I think that's a strategy that the supervisors were looking at.
So hopefully it works out, but
Hope so. Okay, thank you. Any old business? Any new business? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
you got it.
Wish you all have a Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year. We next convene on January 21st, along with REMAC. Next year. See you next year.
Still in limbo, huh?